Kakadosh, Boker Or. I wanted to share with you a beautiful Dvar Torah on this week's Parashat Nitzavim. We know that the Tur says Parashat Nitzavim is always the last Parashat of the year. This year it comes out Nitzavim Vayelech, right? And it's going to be together because it all depends whether there's going to be another Shabbat, right after Rosh Hashanah before Kippur, and then another one before Sukkot. Obviously, there's none because Rosh Hashanah comes out on Shabbat, and therefore there's only going to be the Shabbat right before Kippur, which is Ha'azinu, and then Shabbat again is Sukkot. So there's no other one. So therefore, Nitzavim and Yelech are together. But usually Nitzavim, doesn't matter what, it's always going to be the last parasha of the year, whether it's combined like this year or not, but it's always the last parasha of the year, right, of the new year. And the Tur comes and he says that there's always going to be a connection, right, between the Nitzavim and before Rosh Hashanah. The Tur brings down in Siman Tav Kafchet, Minchot Rosh Chodesh, Pigdu upischu, which means that first you read Parashat Tzav, and then you have the Chag of Pesach, okay? So you have Pigdu and then Pischu. Pischu is Pesach, and Pigdu is a command of Tzav, a commanding. If it's going to be a Shana Meuberet, a leap year, like this year, for example, it's going to be Sigru upischu. Parashat Metzorah, as Metzorah, you close them up, that's Sagor, right? Like Lizgor, to close, upischu, and then Pesach. So this year, it's going to be different. That means usually you have Parashat Tzav, which is Shabbat HaGadol, and then you have Pesach, and then Shemini after Pesach. This year, when it's a leap year, it's going to be Parashat Tazriya Tara Metzorah, and after Metzorah, it's going to become the Pesach. Okay, now he comes and he says, after Chag Pesach, it's Menu ve'itzru. Parashat Bamidbar, that you're counting the people, Menu, Limnot, ve'itzru, and then it's Atzeret. Atzeret is Shavuot, where we have Shavuot. Then you have Tzumu Utzlu. First, we're going to do the Tzom, which is Tisha B'Av, and then we're going to have the prayers of Vayet Chanan that we're praying to Hashem. So first you have, obviously, Devarim is always Shabbat Chazon. You have Tisha B'Av, which is Tzumu, and then Tzlu, and then praying Vayet Chanan. And then you have what's called Kumu V'Titku. Right? What is Kumu? Kumu is Parashat Nitzavim, and Parashat Nitzavim, he comes and he says, is going to be Kumu V'Tiku. Tiku is Tkiyat Shofar. So he comes and he says like this. He says, what exactly does it mean now in the concept of Kumu? Kumu is the lashon of Amidah, that you're standing. What does that mean exactly? So we know that we stand when we go to judgment. Even nowadays, many times, I don't know how it is in the secular courts, but you stand when there's a verdict, they stand. Lashon Amidah, you're standing up. Even nowadays, when they come, they'll take them to stand at the place where they come and they start interrogating or start asking questions. So it's concept of Kumu, get up. Lemishpatecha amedu hayom ki ekol avadecha. We say in Perek Kuf Yutet of Tehillim Alphabeta, Lemishpatecha, to your judgment they stood today, ki ekol avadecha, because everybody is your servants, which means that's the way that you go to a judgment. You're standing. And what is this week's parasha? Atem nitzavim hayom. You guys are standing today, kulechem, all of you, ifnei Hashem lokechem. We know, right, that by the way, that when it says the word hayom, what is a hayom? To the day. The day is Rosh Hashanah. And that's why when it says Atem nitzavim hayom kulechem, on Rosh Hashanah, you guys are all standing in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We are standing in front of him for judgment. And that's why nitzavim is going to be right before. Now, it's something very interesting. We come and we say in this week's parasha, Ki ha-mitzvah zot asher nochi mitzvecha hayom. This mitzvah that I'm going to command you today, Lo nifleti mimecha, it's not separated from you. It's not distance from you. Lo bashamayim, it's not in the shamayim that you're going to come and you're going to say, who's going to take us up to the shamayim to take it? Velo mever liyam, it's not across the diaspora that you're going to say, who's going to cross the sea in order to get it. Ki karov elecha davar me'od beficha u'levavecha la'asoto, because it's very close to you in order to do. Now, what are we referring to exactly? Some people actually learn, by the way, some of the Shalom learn that from here is a mitzvah to say doraita, the mitzvah of teshuvah. That we have to do teshuvah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why? It's not that far away from us. We're able to do it. We're able to come close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But Rashi comes and he says, lo hashamayim, because if it was in the shamayim, you would have actually had to go up to the shamayim to learn the Torah, right? And it's not ki karov elecha, so close, the Torah. And what does it mean now? Right, it's not, which means that really, the Torah, if the Torah, it's not difficult for us. It's easy to obtain the Torah. But the Sefer B'Yam Derech, he comes and he says, Why do we specifically choose these two examples? Lo b'shamayim, it's not in the heavens, and it's not ever liyam, and it's not across the sea. Why? So the Gemara Masechet Gitin, right, that we just finished in Daf Yomi, Peidar Amud Aleph, says like this: Tanu Rabbanan, we learned to the Braita. Somebody comes and he tells his wife, "Areze gitech, this is your get, on condition that you go up to the Shamayim, go up to the firmament, go to the moon, right? Or on condition that you go deep down." Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema comes and he says, this is considered a get. Even if you can't fulfill it, it's a get. Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema says, Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema, כל תנאי שאי אפשר לו לקיימו בסופו ויתנה לו מתחילתו, אינו אלא כמפליגה בדברים וכשר. He comes and he says, listen, you already know that you're not going to go to the moon. You already know you're not going to go. Hey, it's impossible. So therefore, right, it's like you're pushing it off, that kilo, you're just doing it to make her suffer. And therefore, it's not a real condition. So because of that, the get is kasher. So Rashi says, you're doche ota letza'ara. You're coming to make her suffer. What are you coming? You're telling a woman, listen, this is your get, but on condition you go to the moon. Aywa, you know that she's not going to the moon. So what are you doing? So therefore, they come and they say, right, that the explanation is that any time that we come and we want to say something which is not reality, we come and we give these two examples. Go up to the Shamayim or go me'ever layam. Right? Go across the, nowadays, Baruch Hashem, we've got planes. So within 2 minutes, you cross the sea. But to cross the sea in the olden days, who's going to go and come and take a boat and go crossing? They would do that only if mamash, they were going to exile and they had to run away. Nobody would just come in the olden days and just take a boat and cross the sea. It didn't make sense. But now he comes and he says that's the same thing to do with the Torah. There is nothing that's stopping a person from learning Torah. Torah is so easy, right? And that's what he's saying. It's not me'ever layam. Don't think that's impossible. It's not b'shamayim. It's right beside you. And therefore we gave the two extremes of nothing to teach you. Nothing exists. The Torah, Kedusha, everything is possible. But now comes Hashem Yishmuel, and he asks an incredible thing, and he says in his name of his father as follows. He says, why is it that we say, Lo b'shamayim hi, v'lo me'ever layam hi? Lo b'shamayim, because if it wasn't a shamayim, you would have had to go to the shamayim to get it. And if it was me'ever layam, you would have had to go to the yam to actually get it. But what's an afkamina, right? If you can't do it, so what do you mean you would have needed to do it? You do your maximum. HaKadosh Baruch Hu would have taken care of the rest. And therefore, what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not going to come to you and say, listen, why did you go to the moon? Well, you're going to tell him, listen, I'm not an astronaut and I don't have the money to go on Elon Musk's, the plane, going up there. It doesn't work. So he comes and he says like this. He says, the father of the Shem Yishmuel comes and he says like this. There's mitzvot, ma'aseh, basar v'dam. Right? He comes and he says that sometimes there's mitzvot. That he comes and he says, ma'aseh v'dam lifol belyonim. We could come and we can make an actions in the shamayim. Why? Because at the end of the day, you're shliach to serve the will of Hashem. And just like shlucho shel adam kamoto, so to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if you're the shliach of Hashem, you're the messenger of Hashem, you are doing these actions. So kaviyachol, you are like Hashem and you're being a messenger of Hashem. So it comes out that it's like Hashem doing that. So therefore you come and you have the power of doing certain things that has an effect in the Shamayim. It has an effect up there. And therefore we're going to say that it's not that the judges stam that there's a mitzvah that you can't do it. If right now it's considered a maaseh, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu could do everything. So therefore, if the Torah was in the Shamayim, we would have been commanded that we have to actually go up to the Shamayim, because then we have the strength to go up to do it. And the same thing is to do with a sin, right? The exact same thing. At the end of the day, we are the messengers of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and therefore we have to do it. But even if there's going to be a mechitza shel bazel, an iron curtain, which is going to be in front of us, we would have had to do it. That's what he says. So more than this comes and now says the Marsha, the person himself, right? He's stopping himself from Torah Chokhmah, or because it comes from himself. So therefore, a person actually has to understand, right? What do they have to do? What is their mission? So he comes and he says like this. He says there was once, right? He had to go to the diaspora. Rabbi went to the diaspora for Sheva Berachot. And there was a guy who comes and he says, listen, right? In the United States, there's a law, right? 1 month, right, in the year, you're allowed to come and you're allowed to shoot and you're allowed to trap how do you call this? You're allowed to trap the deers. Yeah, you're allowed to come and you're allowed to hunt deers 1 month in the year. So what happened? He comes and he says there are certain places where they are enclosed, and they come that once a month, right? That month, and they go and they all have this entire thing. So one day there was in the Bet Knesset. They come and they say, you know what? We're going to go hunting. So they're going to go. So before they go, you know, Rabbi, why don't you come with us? So the rabbi says, well, you guys are normal. He said, I'm going to go with you guys. Well, so he said, why, Rabbi? What's the problem? On the way, you give us Divrei Torah, right? And even there, while we're waiting, you give us Divrei Torah. No, instead of stop, we're going to waste our time. What? Come and enjoy. So the rabbi says, you know what? Okay, fine. I'm going to go, right? So every single person comes, right? And he gets his rifle, and they're all going, and it comes, and the rabbi is giving them all Divrei Torah, and Divrei Torah, Divrei Torah. And all of a sudden, they come and they see that there was a deer that comes out from the mountain. Now, this was a huge deer, something incredible. For sure, he was like the father of the entire tribe. He was something incredible. Okay, fine. So they're all going. They're all with their guns. And right before, you know, that he comes, they say, Rabbi, right, you're the one that's going to tell us when to shoot. So he says, okay, fine. So they all have their guns there. And even the rabbi, remember, by the way, don't learn halacha l'maseh, because hunting for fun is not that simple, right? And remember that if you kill the deer, you can't do anything with the deer, right? Which we're going to explain in a minute, because it didn't do shechita. So 1 second. So the rabbi comes and he tells, no, you guys all have him in the aim. Yeah, we all have him in the aim. So the rabbi says, yeah, no, he says, fire. What happens? Boom, everyone shoots, and boom, on the second, he turns over, feet up in the air. They waited a few minutes until he gives back his neshama to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, b'kedushav ta'ara. Okay. And all of a sudden now they have a question. What do you do with this guy? What is this big deer? What are you going to do with it? Why? To eat, right? You can't eat it. There was not done shechita. So the only thing is you could sell it. Now, technically speaking, you could sell it to a goy, $2,000. You could sell it to a goy. But now there's a question, right? Who gets the money? So 10 of them, they come and they say, you know what? What do we care? Let's sell it. And it goes to the Bet Knesset. It's a good idea. Fine. 5 of them come and they say, we were here all day. We're going to give it to the Bet Knesset. So they went and they said, you know what? We're going to send it to a pathologist. We're going to send this animal to, we're going to find out who killed it. Who is the one that killed this animal? And the one that killed the animal, right? That's for sure the one, he gets it. So fine. They come, they put him on the truck, and they go, right, they go there, they come, they give it to the pathologist, they come, they put in the machines, they try to find out which bullet was the one that really killed it. After 24 hours, they come and they say, okay, fine, we come back and we should know who was the one that killed the deer? The rabbi. They went and said, what? How could it be? How do you know that? They went and he said, very, very simple. It was the only bullet, right, that went in from one ear and went out the other ear. Right? The rabbi, he's used to that he shows for the kill. It goes in one ear, out the other ear. So that's so same thing. A person comes to a shiur Torah, many times it goes in one ear, it goes out the other ear, right? But there's a mitzvah to go. You still get a mitzvah of doing that. So too, there's going to be a mitzvah that you come to the shiur and you're going to be there. Fine. Says the Or HaChaim HaKadosh. He says, when it says velo me'ever layam, I understand lo b'shamayim. Okay, fine. Right? Who's going to go up to the shamayim? Me'ever layam, really be'emet, there's not, even if it's going to be far away on an island, you could still get there. So maybe we're talking about other things which are stopping it, whether it's Diyat Torah or other things as well. However, though, we just have to understand, okay, so what are we referring to exactly? So what happens is as follows. When we come and we're actually speaking about lo nifleti mimicha velo rechokahi, and it's not distance and all these things, we have to actually understand as follows. A person does an avirah. And when a person does an avirah, he doesn't realize that he could destroy the shamayim and the yayam. He could destroy with his avirah everything. And listen to this, right? What does that mean exactly? A person comes and let's say he didn't make a beracha. He said, oh, big deal. What's the big deal? You came, you took a drink of water, and he didn't make a beracha. What are you making such a big deal about it? So, right, I would actually come, and I would have thought to say, you know what, 1 second, you have to go to every single Jew and ask him for mechila slicha. Why? You stole from him the shefa. You stole from him all these things that, and that's why he's saying now, me'ever liyam, it could be that really be'emet, you don't even understand what you did. You don't understand what you did with your action. The Rav Yisrael Nirujin, he comes and he gave a beautiful concept just to understand. Imagine right now you're coming and you're going to do renovations in your house. So what happens is you come and all of a sudden you need, right, a piece of metal, right? A long piece of metal, straight piece of metal, 10 o'clock at night. Where are you going to find it? Home Depot's closed. What are you going to do at 10 o'clock? But you really need it. So what do you say? You say, you know what, 1 second. I'm not very far away from the train station. So what do? You go, a few hundred meters, you go into the train station, you take a piece of metal, right? And you come and you say, okay, fine, big deal. I took it off the track, the train track. You think somebody's going to care? I took a piece of metal. It was whatever it is, a few meters, whatever it is. Nobody's okay. All of a sudden, he comes and he hears in the news the next morning, right, that there was a train that went off the tracks, right? It was going, let's say, for example, to Haifa, whatever it is, wherever the place was, and all of a sudden, there's 90 people deceased, 30 psuim, right? The guy comes and he says, wow, this, the guy, the train driver, what, he was drunk? She says, what's going on? And all of a sudden, he's listening to this and he's saying, this is incredible. All of a sudden, they come knock on the door. They open up the door and they arrest him. He says, what? He said, what happened? He come and he said, they tell him, you're going to jail. Going to jail? What did I do? I took 1 meter of a track. What did I do already? He says, yeah, you're right. You took one piece of metal, which is, how much is it? Nothing. But because of that, everything that happened. You have 90 people killed, 30 people that are still injured. That all happened because of you. That's your action. The same thing, he once saw a story, right, to do with the boreg, right? Imagine right now you go to your roof, right, and you need a little tiny chupchik, right, for the nails and for the, all these things, the bolts and all these things. So you go up to the roof, you come, you see this type of a bolt, you come, you take it off, you say to yourself, listen, how much is it? I see, I don't even know what it's for, right? It's on this big roof, right, of the apartment buildings that you have, right? You come downstairs, right? You don't even realize that after a few minutes, 10 minutes, what happens is you hear a big, huge boom. So, wow, what happened? When he took it off and he put it in, everything was perfect, but he doesn't understand what happens, right? So what happened is that in the next door neighbor, right, they had an incredible chandelier. That chandelier was worth thousands and thousands of dollars. We're talking about like $20,000, $30,000. It was a beautiful chandelier. Everything was incredible. Yeah, for 15 years it was there. It never moved. All of a sudden, the guy came and he took off this little tiny bolt, and really, the entire thing fell. It was attached to the roof, and it was attached to this. Now, he doesn't realize that not only just it came and it fell, he comes and he says it broke all the tiles in the house right beside it. Not only that, the woman that she was right beside it, she got into a shock. She was in the hospitalized for 2 weeks. So all of a sudden they come and they go to the police. And the police comes, they grab him, and he says, what did I do already? I took a bolt. How much is a bolt? 10 shekel. I'll give you 20. But they come and say, what? Are you making a joke? He says, just the chandelier was around $30,000. All the tiles. 2 weeks in the hospital. What, do you see it? They come, they give him $100,000 bill. He says, you guys are mad. So what are you doing? This is called justice? He says, what did they do exactly? What's going on? Says that the Mormon Yerushin, he comes and he says, we don't understand that with our actions, we could come and say, what do we do? Big deal. We didn't make a beracha. He says, you know how much shefa you stopped in the world? You know how much beracha you stopped from bringing down to the world? You know how many now pitsuim there are, and people that are injured, and people that chas v'shalom are even more than injured. Everything from one little action that you did. And therefore, that's what we're actually understanding, that on every single one of the Torah, everything that I'm commanding you, right, what's going to happen? So comes HaKadosh Baruch Hu and he says, Ulcha Hashem, David HaMelech says this in Tehillim, Ulcha Hashem Chesed, Ki ata teshalem liish k'maaseo. Hashem, you do chesed. You know what the chesed that you do is? You're going to pay us according to our actions. What does that mean, you're going to pay us according to, what's chesed is that? That he's going to pay us according to the actions? Why is that chesed? So he comes and he says like this. He says, Ta'al shich HaKadosh, right? He comes and he says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is about chesed. Why? He's not going to ask you, and he's not going to take judgment against you on that the train went off the tracks, because he's going to pay you according to your action. You took off a barzel, that's what you're going to pay for. You took off a piece of metal, that's what you're going to pay for. And he comes and he explains that that's what we say in Yigdal. Listen to this. Every single Friday night, we say Yigdal Elohim Chai Gomel leish chasid kemif'alo. He's going to give chesed leish chasid. He's going to do gemilut chesed. He's going to do the chesed back. Kemif'alo, according to his actions, right? Yutan l'rasha or noten l'rasha kerishato. He's going to give to the rasha that he did bad according to his wickedness. The question is, why does it say it like that? Say noten l'rasha kemifalo, like his actions. Why in one place do we call it mifalo? Komele ish chasid kemifalo. Yutan l'rasha kerishato. Either say ketzidkuto and kerishato, or kemifalo, kemifalo. What's going on exactly? The Mefarshim come and they say as follows: to do with the person that he comes and he does something negative, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will not come in exact retribution of everything that he did. His action. Even though his action could have caused, and that's what we said, it could have caused Chas v'Shalom, people being injured, and he didn't make a bracha. But at the end of the day, he's only punished according to his action. He didn't make a bracha, that's what he's going to be punished for. Even though the ramifications of his actions are so bad. And that's why he says, Yutan l'rasha kirishato, according to his rishut. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu on the positive, he does the exact opposite. Gomeli chasid kemifalo. Imagine you right now, you came and you gave $20,000 to a person to have a certain surgery. And because of that, you went and you saved him. And that person had children. He had 10 children. One of them became a Rosh Yeshiva with 500 students. And then he says, Gomeli chasid kemifalo. You have that entire thing. It wasn't only the 20,000 that you did and you saved that guy's life. On his children, on all the students of his children, on the children of the children, everything, you have that. And therefore it comes out that that's the exact same thing that according to the Ramban and the Sforno, that's what it is to do with the mitzvot of Teshuvah as well. And therefore what is important for us just to understand is that Hashem does a chesed with us. But we should understand, though, the power of our actions. Many of us, we come and we sin because we don't see what an action, we don't understand what is sin. Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to come and he wanted to teach us what is sin by coming and actually showing and breaking the luchot. The luchot were ma'aseh Elohim ema. They were actions of Hashem. But Moshe Rabbeinu had to take this miracle that illuminated on both sides. It went straight through and something which carried it itself and it didn't weigh anything, even though it was so heavy. And then after... And he had to come and he had to break it to show you that sin destroys everything. A person could come and they could sin and destroys everything, but Hashem still does chesed. And that's why we're so lucky. The chesed that Hashem does is that always for the positive, we're always going to go to the positive. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to say, I'm going to pay you back, going to only the positive. But Chas v'Shalom is going to be for the negative, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu does his chesed as well. And you know what he's going to do? He's only going to come and he's going to pay us according to our action, not according to all the ramifications of all the different things also that come up to us. Bezrat Hashem.